Welcome to Virtual Eats Guru, where we're going to do pork belly burn ends today. So we had such demand for our other videos that we decided to go into more depth because people were asking questions. So if you like the content, subscribe in the lower right hand corner. Also put feedback back in the comment section. Love to hear what you guys think about this stuff. So today we've got about a 10-pound pork belly from Costco, and you can see it's marbled. It's probably about 50-50, so half meat, half fat. So we got a nice fat cap on the back side. It's trimmed up pretty well, and so this bad boy will render down pretty good. So for starters, we're actually going to cut this into probably 1 to 2 inch cubes. So 1 inch this way, all the way across, and then across this way. And I use both a knife and scissors. Just depends on what's easier for to use. But I start, and I usually tend to do it with the meat side up. You could do it the fat side up, but it's easier for me to get to the meat and then kind of really grind down on the fat, or use the scissors if I need to use the scissors. So you can see it cuts through pretty good, pretty quick. And then like I said, I may take that and then I may use the scissors just to kind of finish off through the fat cap to get a nice clean strip. So you start like that, and now you've got this piece just like this, and then we're going to cut this basically from here, 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 and here, and then we'll show you how we're going to marinate those and throw some mustard and I got some Bovine Bold on it, and so we'll marinate that. We'll let it rest in the fridge overnight, and then we'll start smoking and cooking the next day. Alright, so now that we got them cut into our strips, we're going to take them and we're going to just basically cut them into pieces, into cubes. And I like to do 3 at a time, or whatever you want to do. It just makes it pretty easy and kind of efficient to cut through them. And anything that hangs on, like I said, I'll use the scissors again later. So you get your cubes going. Like I said, it's pretty easy. Anything that hangs on, you can just use the scissors to cut them off. Alright, so now we're going to season the pork belly, and I got my lovely assistant here that's going to help so that I can use both my hands. So go ahead, you want to put the mustard on first? Spread it all around in there. Get quite a bit. Keep going. There you go. Okay, let's start with that. So we want to get the mustard in on all the pieces so our rub's going to stick really good to all the pork belly. Want to eat it now? Not yet, huh?
I like it.
Yeah, I don't think so. So you can use olive oil or other things that you want to use to make it make it stick to the pork belly. But mustard is one of my favorites with pork, and the rub I'm using is called Bovine Bold from Plowboys, and so it's got a nice taste. But you could use any of the types of pork rubs and rubs that you like that go good on pork. Anything will work fine. All right. So you want to throw some of the seasoning on there. Just kind of spread it out. There you go. Okay, let me rub that in. Okay, get some more. We want to get it on all of it, and we're going to braise this too during the process. So it's not that you can't over season it, but you want to season it pretty well so it penetrates into the meat. And we're going to leave this overnight out in the garage open. That's good. Thank you. Yeah, we'll put it out in the refrigerator, but we'll leave it. We won't cover it up. We'll let it kind of really age a little bit on the meat and really set up the rub and set up the flavor. So now we're all rubbed up, so we'll put it in overnight in the refrigerator, and then first thing in the morning we'll smoke it a bit. Then we'll ratchet up the temperature, and then we'll braise it, and then we'll caramelize it a little bit. So see you in the morning. Alright, so we've got our pork bellies marinated overnight in there with the rub and the mustard, so that's all set in there. We got the Traeger set to smoke. I set it about 180 degrees. With the pork belly, you want to have some decent temperatures, and we'll probably do that at about 1 hour on that temperature, and then we'll probably kick it up for another couple hours at like 250 to get the fat to render and to kind of get those burn ends really doing what they need to do. And then we'll braise them for an hour, and then we'll end up kind of caramelizing them or getting them to set up the last 30 minutes, maybe an hour, we'll see. But what I have on here is I have some wire mesh that's, you don't have to use it, but I use it because it just makes it easier moving it back and forth, as well as on the grates, so nothing sticks to the grates or falls through if you've got smaller pieces. And you want to use some non-stick spraying, so that way nothing sticks to it. It's easy to take them off after they've smoked and cooked for a while. And then we'll just put these guys on the grate, and I tend to do the fat side up. I haven't tried fat side down, but I might put a couple on fat side down just to see if there's any difference. The long-lasting debate. Alright, so that is a bunch of hog on the smoker. So those will render down and start to kind of tighten up as they cook, and then I don't have any of them really touching or anything like that, so the smoke should be just fine. So we'll smoke those up for about an hour and come check on them, and then we'll ratchet up the temperature and start to render them down even some more. So I've had several questions throughout the videos where people are asking, what is this deal over here? So this is the SYNEK that I use, and it's basically like a CO2 charged kegerator. So there's a gallon bag of beer that you can connect to, or a growler, or whatever you want, that actually is like having a fresh beer every single time. So it's pretty cool, and the beer lasts quite a while, so you get it fresh each time. And so just a tap, and you just get that nice foam and fresh beer every time, every pour. So you can't grill without beer. No way to barbecue without having a nice cold fresh beer. So we're about an hour into it, so we'll take a look, see what we got going. I didn't mention it earlier, but we're using the Gourmet Pellets from Costco. So it's a maple hickory cherry flavor and goes really good with the pork. It's a real nice blend. I'm a big fan of kind of some of the the heavier woods with like some of the like maples, and whether it's apples or cherries or some of the fruit woods that are a little bit lighter, kind of blends it out. So the Traeger stayed under 200, so it varied between about 180 and 195 or so, which is perfect. Real hot day today, so it's going to range up a little bit more. But we'll take a look, see what kind of smoke we got on this, and then we'll turn up the temp, still smoking, but probably around 250. Start getting some of that fat to render on these pork bellies. So yeah, that's perfect. So we got a nice smoke going on those, and you can see they haven't rendered down much yet, which is totally fine. So we kind of did a cool smoke to really get that smoke flavor set in, bind with the rub, bind with what we put on there. And so now we'll ratchet it up to 250, get some more smoke on there, and we'll check them probably in an hour, hour and a half, and it may take up to 2 hours. We really want to get this part where you really kind of cook them down, and then we'll move them onto the braising stage. So we're right at an hour at 250, so we're going to kind of take a look and see how we're progressing and how things are looking. It should have rendered down some. We should be starting to really get that meat to kind of crunch up, and we should have ran through some of the fat. So we'll take a look, see what we got. So yeah, that looks perfect. We're right on track. Yeah, they're still kind of spongy, still kind of juicy, rendering some more of that fat, getting into the meat. but we wanted to kind of condense down a little bit more. So it's really hot today, but the Traeger's been doing good. It hasn't gone over 260. It's gone between 245, 260, so staying right on that 250 average that we need for this stage. So we'll give these another half hour to 45 minutes, just depending on how it goes. On a day like this, it's close to 100 degrees out, so things tend to cook maybe a little bit quicker, which is fine. And that's kind of the philosophy I have, is it's not about the time exactly, it's more about the process and what things are doing and what they look like when. And so right now, nothing's burnt on this stuff, and it's continuing to render some of that fat down and gets the consistency we want. So these are still they're squishy just like we want. They're not burnt up or anything like that. The other thing is I did cut some different sizes and different pieces. My kids like it like burnt to a crisp almost. And then we got some friends coming over that like it almost, just all fat and gushy. So I cut some different sizes so kind of you get something for everybody. So we'll close her back up, continue smoking, and see you in about 30-45 minutes. Alright, so these have been on for about 40 minutes. So I checked them at 30 minutes and they weren't quite where I wanted them, and so this is about 40 minutes into it. And again, I got various sizes on it, so some are a little more than others, and but that's how I did it with this particular one. So let's take a look. So that to me is perfect. They still got a really good texture to them. The meat's not dried out. The fat is really quite a bit of it's rendered. Still has really good texture. And I mean, you can see these guys are still kind of gooey, and they're all set up. So we'll take them off the smoker here, and then we'll move them inside and show you the next stage, and then we'll put them back on the grill. We're also going to turn it up to 275 for the next stage when we do the braising, and that'll probably be about an hour to hour and a half for the next stage. Alright, so now we're back at the stage. We've taken them off the smoker, and now we're going to put brown sugar across all of it. We're going to put some honey on it, and then we're going to put some butter on it if we don't already have enough fat. So I've got my assistant here again to help me out, so go ahead and do the brown sugar and just sprinkle it liberally on. There you go. Yep. Take more. You get quite a bit on here because it doesn't really matter. This is really going to braise down because we're going to seal it. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to add a little bit of honey here. This really gets it to render the fat down and really kind of gets these guys the right types of texture that you want. And then we'll add some butter flakes, or slivers I guess. You can put some on if you want. They're already cut up. You can take the glove off.
I want to lick it. I'm saving it.
Saving the glove to lick it later, or what?
Yeah.
Alright. I could just give you some brown sugar, too. I mean, technically. What would it be like to be 8 again? Okay. There you go. Put on a few more. Just right across there.
Slippery.
That's it. I get it. Kind of binds together a little bit, doesn't it? There we go. Thank you.
So slippery.
Oh, that one's a whole piece. We're good there. Alright, so we've got that on there, and now we're going to cover it in foil because we want to seal it really good. So we really want this next stage will really render down the fat and get it down just the right texture that we want. In the grill, we've kicked it up to 275 because we want a little hotter temperatures, and this will be probably about an hour and a half of braising, and then we'll take it off, get rid of the braising fluid, and then we'll put another sauce on top of it and finish it off, and we're ready to go. So now that our pork belly is on the in the braising process, we're actually going to put together a glaze that we're going to put on for probably the last, it could be 15 minutes, could be 20, 30 minutes, just depends on how it sets up. But this last stage is one of my favorite stages to put on them. So, you can start with whatever type of barbecue sauce that you like, whatever you prefer. This is a really interesting Thai chili tamarind type barbecue sauce, so it's got kind of a kick to it and some different, real tangy flavors. So it's one of our favorites. And then, I've got some apple butter here, just from a flavor perspective and setting up, and then some cherry jelly, and then finishing off with some hot pepper jelly. So you kind of give a little bit of a kick, and then I always like to add in just a little bit more of the rub into the sauce, just so you kind of reinforce what we've done earlier on in the process. So with these guys, you just mix them together, let it set, and then once we pull off the pork belly burn ends, we'll put this on top of those. We'll get rid of the braising fluid first, put this on top, glaze it, and then we should be golden. So just get it to a nice consistency, and then we'll let it rest and sit, and then we'll put it on the pork once it's ready to go. Alright, so we're done with the braising process. We put those on for about an hour and a half at 275. So all the fat and everything we put in there should have completely rendered by now. So we'll take a look, see what we got, and then we'll put on our glaze, but we'll also get rid of some of our braising fluid if we need to, if there's much left in there. Look at those. That is perfect. So these guys are just right. All the fat and the stuff is rendered. We got a nice piece of meat and fat that totally changes the texture of these things. So, these are going to be perfect. Now, when we just put a little bit of that glaze on them, and just kind of tightens it up and gives it that extra flavor that we want on it, these will be perfect. These things just melt in your mouth. So we'll add this on here. I like to actually, I'm going to pour some of this fluid out. Don't have a ton, but I'm going to get rid of some of it. So I got rid of the fat and the stuff that we don't want, that all has been rendered down. And then I'll start just by ladling this on here, just kind of rubbing it on to make sure I get it on pretty much every piece. And then I'll end up just pouring this on top of it. It'll give us a really nice glaze that'll just lock in that flavor, give it the right texture. And again, you can do whatever type of glaze you want that you like, whether it's, types of barbecue sauces and jellies, or just straight barbecue sauce, or straight jelly, whatever you want. We like ours a little tangy, a little spicy, a little fruity. So that's where we got the apples and the cherries. Kind of goes with some of the, the wood we use too, where you think about the maple and cherry. And then again, a little bit of the rub that's in there too, just to kind of make sure we stay consistent with what we started with. So I'm going to put these back on the grill, and I'll leave it at 275. And probably, with this one, with the way they're looking, I could do 15 minutes, but I may do 30 minutes just to kind of give it an extra tightening up. But these things are looking really, really good right now. So now we got them all sauced up, we'll throw them back on the grill. Okay, so we've been 30 minutes with it open here, so we'll see what we got. Oh man, that's perfection. Everything is it's all set up. It's nice and glazed. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. So we'll take these off, let them sit a little bit, and then we'll do a little taste testing to see how they really came out. But that looks pretty darn good. so I got my taste testers here. So after the full process, taking them off, got the other ones resting back there, getting ready to eat them. But my taste testers got to approve before we move on to eating the rest of them. So let's see, girls, have at it.
Have to make sure they're not poisonous. They're poisonous. We need to eat all of them.
They're pretty good.
I'll have this one.
Those are ridiculously good.
How dare you take whatever.
So what do you think, girls? Pretty good?
She should have let me eat hers.
Alright. Children approved.